The Wolfman Dan here on the Witching Hour on a very special live stream tonight. I'm going to be rocking out a tribute to my friend Joe Snyder. I hope everybody sticks around for it. Hey, I already see my girl Judy Willer in the chat. Hey, Judy, the mod in training. You know, Judy, she's young Jedi Link Master. Hey, let me get things set up. Give me 1 second. Got to figure out where the camera needs to be to get this thing looking good. It looks good to me already. I'm going to break in a song by my friend Pat McCormick while people come in, and then we'll get the show started. Drop them links, Judy. Drop them links. Greetings all and welcome to the show. I'm Daddy Staten. They call me the Wolfman Dan. I appreciate everybody joining me here tonight. Today we're going to be taking a look at my good friend Joe Snyder. You know, we've had some tragedy, some sheer tragedy in the Bigfoot community. And one of the tragedies is my good friend Joe got sick. He got sick a while ago. He's not doing good. They're only giving him a short time. But I don't want to bring the world down thinking about the future, thinking about what's going to happen. Because Daddy Dan is honestly crying a tear tonight. This is a hard show. for the daddy Dan to do. Believe it or not, it really is. So I thought the best way to open the show tonight was just to sit back, chill out for about, I don't know, a little while, and let's just watch some of Joe's videos and experience my friend Joe. And then we'll get caught up on what's happening now.
Well, so far, I'm here at work. Good morning, settlings and squatters. Just doing a bit of a video here as I drive into work this morning. Just some things that I was thinking of, and of course, you know, one of my big favorite subjects, which totally has to do with Bigfoot, or hominid X, is evolution. And now, I only have the most basic grasp of evolution, so I'm not an expert on evolution, but I do have a basic grasp of it, and I understand that what evolution explains is, of course, the diversification of species. And the way it works is that it is small changes in allele frequencies over a long period of time, which gives rise to new species from previous species. And one of the craziest questions I've ever seen, but I understand the question for some people who just don't understand evolution. Now, it's not that hard to understand it if you do a little bit of reading. Go into it with an objective mind and just read about the theory of evolution. But evolution doesn't try to explain the beginnings of life. That's a totally different study called abiogenesis. It has nothing really to do with evolution. It's two different fields of study. But anyway, to stay on topic with the evolution, one of the craziest questions I've ever heard, of course, and I hear it all the time, is that Homo sapiens evolved from apes. If we came from apes, how come there's still apes? Well, that's really not a very good question. It's a dumb question, and people would, and I know people say there's no stupid questions. Yes, there are. But it's not their fault. It's because they don't understand evolution. I get that. But the answer to that is that we did not evolve from apes. Okay? We evolved from a common ancestor with apes. So we evolved right get that tall, right? Now, there's nothing to say that some couldn't have branched off and for different reasons adapted and became larger. You know that large animals deal with cold a lot better, but Neanderthals lived through an ice age for a very long time, and apparently they didn't get much over 5'6" or so, or something like that. But she described it looked like a Neanderthal, covered in hair. And now, while I wouldn't say that Rasta looked like a Neanderthal to me, that caveman kind of look, if you want caveman kind of look, very similar. Very similar. Like I said, he didn't look like us, but he didn't look like any of the other existing great apes either. So I found that very interesting, that description, especially when she said the eyes were all black. Now, I couldn't see any whites on Rasta's eyes. His eyes looked very, very dark and black. I was assuming that perhaps it was because he had such a pronounced brow ridge and his eyes were so deep set, and with the hair hanging in his face, maybe that's why I couldn't see his eyes. Like I couldn't see pupils. Obviously he's got to have pupils. But, so I found that pretty interesting. So where do they come from? Where do they fit? How do they evolve? They obviously had to have evolved from, I think, the same common ancestor that we and the other great apes evolved from. And they've been pretty successful. And maybe they do that also by keeping their population low, right? They have a big enough population to continue to exist, but not so large that it's like they're every freaking place, right? So that may be one adaptation. Their population is low. Well, so far, I'm here at work now. I'm reaching a little town of Canandaigua, so just a little bit. Like I said, you know, I could be wrong on some of the things, or I might be misunderstanding some things about evolution. I do have the basic grasp. I strongly urge people to read about it. Read about evolution. If you're curious about what Bigfoot is, hominids, where they come from, etc., just study a little bit of evolution and form your own hypotheses. And maybe we can come up with some answers. I don't, you know, we'll never really come up with the definitive answer, I don't think, until we're able to have a specimen, hopefully a live specimen to study. But although it would be cool if we could actually find some kind of skeleton, at least a skull. A skull would be absolutely phenomenal if we could find a skull, because you can tell a whole lot from a skull. Then scientists would then be like, hey, wow, this thing isn't this, this, or this, but, and they can study that skull and see how it compares to other primates and hominids that have existed. And maybe they can come up with some good theory of how these things have evolved.
Me too.
Anyway, this video will also be going up on the Hominid X YouTube channel too. I've decided to do that now when I do these on Facebook. I'm also going to put
That's my friend Joe Snyder. And let me tell you, this is one of the hardest shows. This is one of the hardest shows I've ever had to do. Ever. Because my friend Joe got sick, and everybody probably knows that by now. And it's really causing me some great stress. But I feel that I need to do this tribute show to my friend Joe. And I want to thank Jeff from Pine Island Research for showing up tonight. Hey, Jeff, I'm going to show a clip from Untold Radio where I was actually on your show, man, and that was one of the highlights of my life. And my friend Eric from Paranormal Highways here, and be sure to check out Paranormal Highway. Hey, Nelly Dan was on Paranormal Highway today. I'm going to show another video by my friend Joe because tonight it's not about Daily Dan and it's not about the rest of us. You know, it's about Joe. You know, Joe's sick, laying at home in his bed, counting down the days. You know, really, Joe, I kind of envy you because soon you'll be experiencing the mysteries of the universe. You'll be solving for yourself what happens in the future of life after death. And that's a big thing, dude. So let me get this started, and we're going to check out Joe.
Okay.
And his words
Here
of
we go,
wisdom.
guys. Here, just a little lesson. Okay. This comes from people when I hear them say, "Is it a human or is it an ape?" Okay. Well, we're all apes, right? We're all apes. You're an ape. I'm an ape. Gorillas are apes. Chimpanzees are apes. Blah 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 blah. And so it's not so much as a human or as an ape, because humans are an ape. So it's an ape. If you see an ape, what kind of ape is it? That's the question for me. What kind of ape is it? What species of ape is it? Human species, or gorilla, or chimp, or orangutan, or the other great apes? And this is all very simple to see if you look it up, because we all belong in the same taxonomy, every last one of us. So if we take a look at, for example, gorilla taxonomy, all right? Well, before we do that, let's actually look at human taxonomy first, okay? And so the human taxonomy, okay? So taxonomic orders are, of course, kingdom, phylum, class, order, suborder, infraorder, family, subfamily, tribe, and genus, right? And so there's some differences, but for the most part, humans, Homo sapiens, are in the kingdom of Animalia. We're all animals. Our phylum is Chordata. We got a spinal cord, right? Our class is Mammalia. We give live birth. We have hair, fur, whatever. Fur bearing gives live birth. That's those are the things about mammals, right? The order we belong to is primates, okay? If we look at that, primates are a diverse order of mammals. They're divided into the strepsirrhines, which include lemurs, galagos, the lorisids, the haplorhines, which include the tarsiers and the simians. Primates arose 85 to 55 million years ago, first from small terrestrial mammals, which adapted to living in the trees, blah, 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 okay? So our order is primate. Suborder is Haplorhini. If I need to explain that, Haplorhini. The haplorhines, or what it means is the dry-nosed primates, right? It's a suborder of primates containing tarsiers and the simians, right? As sister of the strepsirrhini, which are the moist-nosed primates. And we're of the infraorder simiiforms, right? Simiiforms, anthropoids, the simians, and simiiform. The simians, anthropoids, or higher primates. are an infraorder of primates containing all animals traditionally called monkeys, because we're monkeys too. We're apes and we're monkeys. Called monkeys and apes. Okay. More precisely, they consist of the parvorder's New World monkeys, the Platyrrhini, and the Catarrhini, the latter of which consists of the family, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to go into that. But you have New World and Old World monkeys, okay? But that's the infraorder we're in. Family we're in is Hominidae, okay? Hominidae, whose members are known as the great apes or hominids, okay? We're in a subfamily of Homininae, okay? And we are of the tribe Hominini, okay?
Okay.
And our genus, of course, is Homo, right? That's the genus, Homo. And our species, Homo sapiens, okay? Now, if you take a look at all the other ones, right? If you take a look at gorillas, gorillas share everything with us. They're in the same kingdom, phylum, class, order, suborder, infraorder, family, subfamily. Now, they differ when it comes to tribe. Their tribe is Gorillini, okay, or Gorillini, something like that. And their genus is gorilla. Type species, troglodytes, gorilla, okay. Now, if we go on to the chimpanzee, okay, chimpanzees, we know they're our closest cousins. They share the same thing: kingdom, phylum, class, order, suborder, infraorder, family, subfamily, tribe. Their genus is Pan, okay? And their species is Pan troglodytes, okay? That's the chimps. Now, we can take a look at some of the other ones, like with humans. Now, we have several genus, several species within our genus of Homo, right? So, if you took a look at Homo erectus, of course, it shares all that same stuff: kingdom, phylum, class, order, suborder, infraorder, family, subfamily, tribe, genus, but its species, Homo erectus, instead of Homo sapiens. Where did I just see that thing? Oh, back in here. So if you look at the species that are within the Homo genus, there's Homo sapiens, which is us, right? Because there were more archaic Homo sapiens before us. They were still Homo sapiens like we are. They're just a little more archaic looking than we are. We are now considered Homo sapiens, which I think the addition of a sapiens on there was not even really necessary, really, because we're all Homo sapiens. Then you have Homo antecessor, Homo erectus, Homo ergaster, Homo floresiensis, Homo habilis, Homo heidelbergensis, Homo luzonensis, Homo rudolfensis, Homo naledi, and Homo neanderthalensis. Okay, so we have several genuses or several species within our genus. The other apes, they have a couple, like the chimpanzees. There's a couple of different species of chimps, right? They're all chimpanzees, but they're different species. So that shows that we all share this thing. So we're all apes. We're all apes. Bigfoot. Well, all I can say on that, right? How are we going to propose a taxonomy or a taxon on Bigfoot, right? Because we don't know that much about them, right? We don't even really know what they are, right? But if you go by observation of what people who have encountered one, right? Credible people that have encountered one, you can kind of guess at some of this, right? So, just off a direct observation of the thing that I call Rasta, right?
Oh, God.
You want to call it a Bigfoot or Sasquatch, if that's what it is, then from observation, it would appear that it belongs to the same kingdom, phylum, class, order, suborder, infraorder, family, subfamily, and tribe. Now the genus, don't know. Is it in the Homo genus? Is it its own genus, right? What if it's a different genus? It can still be an ape, a primate, right? Which is the order, but it could still have its own genus, perhaps. Or is it still in one of the other genuses like gorilla? I don't see how, what I saw, but it's a possibility. Now, so genus could be different, and a species. We don't know exactly what species, right? It would be. You can call it Sasquatch. That's the species, right? I don't know. But that's the whole point. Those things out there, big, hairy, smelly, big foot mofos running around the woods, for all intents and purposes, from all morphological data that we can gather, this is the taxonomy that I think that they would belong in. Kingdom, phylum, class, order, suborder, all that stuff, it would share with us and all the other apes. Genus and species, don't know, man. Don't know. Wouldn't be able to tell that unless you had a specimen, right? Or at least unless qualified anthropologist, of which I am not, were able to actually frickin' study a group of them in their natural habitat. Then you could probably come up with the genus and the species, right? They would name it some kind of species, right? I doubt that Bigfoot or Sasquatch would end up, when it comes to taxonomy, I doubt Sasquatch or Bigfoot would end up being the scientific species name. They'd probably come up with one, right? And the genus, well, we don't know. Was it closer to Homo genus, the Pangenus, the Gorillini, or Pongo? Don't forget Pongo, which is orangutans, which, okay, they've already got the null hypothesis of Gigantopithecus, which is within the Pongo, right? More related to orangutans than anything else, I guess. So when it comes down to, is it a human? Is Bigfoot human or an ape? Well, it's an ape. It's an ape, but so are we. We're apes too. At least that's my guess. That it is an ape. I don't know what else that you could call something like that. It fits all this other stuff. The descriptions of it fits all the morphological similarities that we share with all the other apes and primates, whatever. You know, all that stuff that I just went through. We share it all. So what really comes down to, the biggest mystery, for me anyway, would be the genus and the species. Genus and species. And I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. Sure, there's probably going to be people out there that want to tell you, well, they're in the Homo genus. They're definitely human. And if you're in the Homo genus, obviously, you are human, just like all those ones that I named that are in our genus, all the other previous ones, Homo ancestor, Homo erectus, Homo heidelbergensis, Homo habilis, they're all humans, right? They belong to the human genus. They're all humans. But their species
I have returned.
Right? Their species, Antecessor, Erectus, Ergaster, Floresiensis, Habilis, blah, blah, blah. They're all humans. They're just different species of humans, right? So, I don't know. People are going to swear that Bigfoot is a human species, right? I don't know that they're a human species. I know that they'd have to be an ape. They would have to be a great ape. Whatever that is, whatever Rasta belongs in the great ape family, just like the rest of us, just like gorillas, just like chimpanzees, all the other great apes. I don't see any other way around that. Now, class Mammalia. I'm assuming that if they're mammals, they have hair. That I've never seen one. I'm not the guy who said I saw one giving birth. That's not me. I've never seen that happen, but I assume they give live birth. Unless you can talk to Leon and ask him about Bigfoot laying eggs. I don't know. But I'm assuming they're in Mammalia. Now, there's also marsupials that are mammals. There's Bigfoot and marsupial. Well, I don't know. I don't see how. If it's in all the others, like if it's in the same suborder, infraorder, family, subfamily, in the order of primates, I don't know any marsupial primates. That could be some could look. I could look it up right now, but I don't feel like it. So that could be something you could look up. Are there any marsupial primates? There may be. I just don't know them off the top of my head because, like I said, not an anthropologist. I'm not a wildlife biologist or whatever. So, but yeah, wouldn't that be cool? Bigfoot's a mammal. I mean, a marsupial, right? You got the female Bigfoots running around carrying the kid in a pouch or something. Hey, maybe that's why we don't find that many juvenile tracks at first, right? Because they're in a pouch, right? I don't know. But I don't see where that is, but it's just a funny thing I just wanted to come up with. But so, yeah, I mean, all this other stuff, I mean, they'd have to be an ape. They're an ape, we're an ape, you're an ape, I'm an ape. We're all apes.
I'm an ape.
There's just certain distinctions among us, but we're all the same, and we'll always will be that. We're always going to be in the animal kingdom. We're always going to be chordates, meaning we have a spine, right? We have a backbone, spinal column, As far as I know, we're always going to be mammals. We're always going to have hair, although, I don't know, that could go away, but still, we're fur-bearing and we give live birth. The primates, again, definition, we're primates. From that, we arose from an ancestor 85 to 55 million years ago. Small terrestrial mammals that adapted and evolved. So there it is. So Bigfoot, ape, yes, it's got to be an ape of some sort. Is it a human ape? Don't know. But there's the evolution lesson of the day. The primates, the apes, part of which Homo sapiens are part of. So, would be curious to find out, man. I don't know what genus or species it is, but you be the judge. And if anybody's got any more information that I failed to put in there about all that, taxonomy, feel free to leave comments below if you know more about taxonomy and etc. I'm always willing to listen to somebody who has more knowledge about especially human and primate evolution than I do. I'm always happy to learn. So hope everybody's having a good day. Don't sweat the petty stuff. Don't pet the sweaty stuff. And go get out in the forest or something. All right. See ya.
That's my friend Joe Snyder. I hope you enjoyed that. We've been taking a look. At some of Joe Snyder's original videos that actually still exist on YouTube. This is really hard. Yeah, it's really hard because Joe's been diagnosed with cancer and only been given a few weeks, and it's really playing hard on the day. I'm trying to find one with his show intro because he had one of the best intros that there ever was on YouTube. Check this out. Real quick, about a minute and 20 seconds, and then the heartache will begin. I had to show you this intro. Look at that cool Jeep. That was Joe's ride, man. You know that interview I just showed, that little thing Joe did. That was one of the last things I saw before he went off YouTube, and it was like, Joe, what happened to you? And Joe was gone. I didn't know what was going on, and I was like concerned. I was like, wonder what's up with Joe. He hadn't been making videos, and I just assumed, like everybody else, that Joe was busy delivering the food, making making oh my God, making money for his family, doing what he needed to do. I keep hearing this little voice in the back of my head, and it's like really bugging me. I don't know. It could be all the vodka I done tonight. And this is really hard, but here we go.
So Molly is
Then this
been
happened.
dealing with, for those who don't know, been dealing with liver cancer. And he had some scans, and yesterday's post was by his wife, and it says basically, so yesterday we came to the ER because Joseph had lost the ability to walk. He did a CT scan and found the cancer had spread to his bones. They found basically tumors on his vertebrae and ribs, and there's also a fracture to one of his vertebrae. And we met with the hospitalist this morning, and we're told that Joe's cancer is spreading fast, and he only has a few months. And this they can do is manage the pain, so he can spend his last days at home with his dogs, cats, and his wife. And anyway, I want to say this to Joe, because I know, Joe, you'll be watching this in broadcast. I know you were over in Nikki's show for a little bit because they were getting ready to medicate you, and when you get medicated, you kind of get zonked down. I get that. But Joe, we love you. And we love Molly too. And anyway, folks, there's a GoFundMe page for him. And if you can give, a couple of bucks, that would be awesome. They're almost halfway to their goal, which is awesome. But Joe and Molly are in for a long few months. And
You see that GoFundMe? Y'all need to hit that.
Joe and I have actually, we've met, we've been out in the field, and Joe was supposed to actually spend a few days, it'll be the end of the month, and go to the Whitehall thing, and that's that's all scrapped now. Looks like Joe's squatching days are over with, but, and Joe, and I couldn't post this video because I saw it this morning, and, I said to myself, how can I do a show? But then Joe said something in his video this morning. He was very upset. He was crying and saying how he loved everybody, and, I can't believe how, the GoFundMe page, and you guys are, and, his final wish really is for us to carry on, take care of Molly, and, carry on, and, do him right by carrying on. And he was very honored to be in our company. And, so how can you do a show? You do a show, you do exactly what he said. Honor him.
That was one of the hardest things I ever saw on YouTube because I didn't know. I didn't know. And it hit me all at one time. It's like, what the hell? There's been very few things that happened on YouTube that actually put tears in my eyes, that made the Daddy Dan, the Wolfman Dan cry. Now, I know this is kind of a somber show, and I appreciate everybody for joining me and sticking with me tonight. I usually try to keep things upbeat, and sometime around the end of the show, I'll play a song and try to lift everybody's spirits just a little bit. You have my word on that. But this is one of the, like I said, of all the shows I've ever done in my whole time on YouTube, this has been one of the hardest I've ever had to do. And it's only going to get harder from here on out. I'm going to bring up my friend Jeff Harding. You might know him on Pine Island Research. And we're going to do his intro, and then I'm going to play a little bit of what he was talking about Joe on his channel. And then I'm going to take it out and I'm going to skip ahead, and then I'm going to show you how to steal a show and how to make a guy smile. And Joe's actually going to be making an appearance. And I hope you enjoy this, and I appreciate Jeff for giving me permission to use this tonight. And, well, let's just do it. And by the way, everybody be sure to subscribe. Pine Island Research and Jeff Harding.
Since I watched that intro. For those who maybe are new to the channel or just joining us tonight, I have been a guest here at Untold Radio since we started the network, and I have taken the last few months off, and kind of, needed the break, needed to spend some time at some other stuff that needed my attention, but I had said I'd come back and do a show if I felt there was something to come back and do a show about. And that's what I'm doing tonight. To be completely honest, I wish there was a more joyous reason to do the show. But I can tell you in a couple of years that I've been doing
streams on YouTube, there's never been a more worthy reason to do a show and hit the go live button. So I'm here tonight. Most of you have read the description. Maybe you have read the bit that was typed under it, but for the fact that we have a big reach here at Untold with our podcast audience that are going to hear this after the fact, I want to take the opportunity to read the description that we put on the video. So you guys on the podcast stations can see Joe Snyder, Western New York Bigfoot Investigation Group, my friend and fellow researcher, entering hospice. About 1 month ago, Joe woke up with some sore ribs, and later that evening he asked his wife Molly to take him to the emergency room. And an x-ray confirmed that he had either 1 or 2 broken ribs, but a CAT scan, when they did that imaging the ribs, they had glimpsed just the top edge of his liver in that CAT scan. Not purposefully, it was just the bottom area of that scan. And they noticed on his liver that it was completely shadowed in, which is not normal. So a week ago, he couldn't get out of bed. Right away they had diagnosed him with stage 4 liver cancer. And about a week ago, he couldn't get out of bed. Had terrible back pain. He was suffering from a crushed vertebrae due to the cancer being in his bones, not just in his liver. And Joe has spent the last week in the hospital, and he is going to be transferring to hospice in the next few days. So we're hoping that he can settle in with home hospice, but to give you an opportunity to understand how I became aware of this, I mean, I've been a friend of Joe's for a couple of years, and we've spent an awful lot of time together, deep conversations. When he lost his friend a little over a year ago, his best friend, we spent many nights on the phone together. And he was broken at that point and needed someone to talk to. And I know many people in our friends group, Leon, Brent, Steve, a lot of people who, Nikki, who had been talking to him at that point. And Joe's never been afraid to reach out when he needs someone to talk to, and I appreciate that. But I was off the grid. I was spending time in Montana for a few weeks, came back, and I'm catching up on YouTube and Facebook and all the social media, and I see these posts from Joe talking about how he's got cancer. And I'm like, in 1 hour, I went from what had happened for them in about a 2-week span was happening to me information-wise in about an hour. So at first I read he's got cancer, they're hoping a year or two, maybe get some treatment, not sure how invasive it is. And then that switched to 6 months, like within a day after the next test. It was, wow, we don't have that long, maybe 6 months. And within 2 or 3 days after that, there were posts where doctors had told Joe, you're probably looking at a few weeks. And for those who know Joe, he's not some white-collar guy with a big bank account. I mean, Joe's a grinder. Joe loves life, lives life well, but, he does it on a budget, man. And when he's not out enjoying the outdoors and whatnot, he's delivering food and just trying to grind away and make some money. And Molly has a decent job, but there's a lot on their plate. And like many of us, they may find themselves living paycheck to paycheck. So when something like this comes along, it's not just the devastating news that it brings with. There are going to be expenses that, believe it or not, that's what's really burdening Joe. Joe's come to accept that this is where he's at right now. And if I was to put myself in Joe's place, I think the hardest thing to deal with wouldn't be that I have to go. It'd be the pain and the burden that I would put on my wife or my children and things like that. So Joe was really concerned about the cost of a burial and a funeral, and so their friends started a GoFundMe, and let me pull that up here. Let's get this. There we go. Hold on just a second here. All right. So this is Joe's GoFundMe. I'm going to put the link one more time in chat. It's going to be in chat throughout the evening. And I'll tell you what, people have stepped up big time. They set a lofty goal of $10,000, and that was only, week and a half, 2 weeks ago maybe. And they have raised $8,615. And I would like to see that money released to Molly so that she can have some peace of mind that she's going to be able to cover these final expenses while she's grieving. And because it's inevitable that that's where she's going to be. And I think that it would be nice to see Joe be able to spend his last time here, that whatever he has left, without the burden of worrying about how she's going to handle that. So I would love to see us put him over. We will be not only doing this show live here and encouraging people to help, we are going to be putting this out to our podcast platform, which is expansive. And we are appreciative of the following that we have here on Untold. Typically what we have when we do a live show here on YouTube, most of us end up with, between 50 and 100 live viewers, and within, a week or so, we'll have, 700 to 1,000 views on a lot of the shows. But the reach that we have on our podcast platforms, and I mean every platform that we put this show to, that same show could get up to 5,000 to 10,000 views. So I wanted to put together an effort to help Joe and Molly tonight that didn't just reach our friendship circle and followers of YouTube, but expands out to our followers out in the podcast world. And tonight we're going to be putting a link in chat here in just a little bit. I'm going to invite people to pop on. Joe is watching the show tonight. I've been talking to Joe here for a little bit earlier before we started the show. And, he might pop on towards the end of it. He's going to be in chat. He might pop on towards the end to let people know how appreciative he is. And I can tell you, he is very appreciative of this. But I was really hoping he'd just be able to sit back in his hospital room with Molly and just kind of soak this up, because I think that the most meaningful thing I'm sorry, I hate my voice because pretty emotional for me. But I think that the most meaningful thing that we can do for Joe is let him know how big of a part he played and is playing right now, and probably always will play if these videos stay on YouTube, in helping so many people in this community deal with encounters that they've had, experiences that they've had trying to learn about the subject. Joe approached this whole thing with such a grounded mindset, and he applies a lot of logic to how he views things. Coupling that with his own encounter really amplified the passion that he has to carry on doing shows in the community, and he did for years. He's had most of us hosts here on the Untold Network on as guests. Doug, myself, I think he had Dr. Russ on. I know he had Brian King Sharp. And, you know, so as a network, we have a empty space in our heart right now that is trying to figure out not only to wrap our heads around what Joe's going through, but trying to figure out what we could do to help him. And I think the most probably logical explanation would be to do a show to try to put them over the top in their fundraising. So, again, I just to give those who may be listening on podcast an idea of who Joe Snyder is. Joe is a husband to Molly, and he is a host. Had a channel that for some time was known as Western New York Bigfoot Investigation Group. It is now known as the Hominin X Inquiry, but you can find those on YouTube. I will put the links to them in the comments for the show. Joe's also a veteran, and when I think back of all the things that Joe's talked about and shared on his show, when I think about what's that highlight reel for me contained, I was really impressed and appreciative that Joe did not resist being vulnerable at times. When he shared what it was like for him as a kid with his dad, and the difficult times that he had, it gave me an opportunity to look into him further than what we would maybe see most influencers out there. You only get to know what they are willing to show you. And Joe was willing to show us an awful lot. And I appreciate that, always will appreciate that. And Joe, I know you're listening. I want you to know that you got an awful lot of people that love you here and care about you and Molly. And I'm going to post that link so that people can pop on. And whether or not you want to share a story about Joe, some of your fun memories of his show, whatever. I don't want to sit here and talk about him like he's going, because he's not. But at the same time, I have this really hard and difficult task of accepting that he soon will be, and he knows this. And he's trying to do what he can to accept that. He's done a really good job in my mind. As far as yesterday, day before yesterday, I spent over an hour talking to him on FaceTime, and he still has a sense of humor, and he still has this passion. And I hope that is there until he breathes his last breath. But let me get the link out, and anybody who wants to come on and join us, I would invite you to do so. I know we've got quite a few that are friends of Joe's, but look, you don't have to be somebody who messages Joe every day and whatnot. Listen, if you want to come on and talk about, man, I remember the first time I watched a show or one of my favorite episodes, whatever, I'd love to hear it all, and I think Joe would love to hear it all too. I think the most meaningful thing that we could do for Joe is let him be aware of the impact he's had on all of us in this journey and in this community. So, got the looks like that link went out. Hopefully, it is active. Anyways, yeah, we got a lot of viewers here, 68 viewers. Appreciate you guys tuning in for this. Again, I will be putting the GoFundMe up there, and just so that you guys can see this, yeah, they're at $8,615 out of the $10,000 that was trying to raise. And again, that will go to help Molly cover funeral costs and final expenses. Joe also has a Caring Bridge site that if you go on Facebook and follow the Hominin X Inquiry, you will see Joe's daily, not daily, but every few days he's putting up a quick little video of him from the hospital. And looks like they were going to have some treatments. They were going to give to him a biopsy, another biopsy, ablation of the lesion on his spine, and kyphoplasty. I don't know how to say most of this stuff, but this was stuff they were going to do in the next couple of weeks, and they ended up doing it yesterday. So I haven't heard yet how any of that went, but the goal is to try to get Joe to where if he can transfer to home hospice and be at home, that he could hopefully do this as pain-free as possible. But with his bones breaking, they're so brittle, it's going to get harder and harder, I think. But hopefully they can find a way to manage that. And first off, let's bring in Nikki. How are you, Nikki?
Hey.
I know you're on the road right now. You had a funeral for a family member this week, didn't you?
Yeah, we laid my cousin to rest yesterday. Hold on one second while I change the settings here, because I can barely hear you. Okay, maybe that'll do better. Okay.
Is that better?
Oh yeah, now I can hear you. Yeah, it's tragic. All the stuff that's been going on in the last few weeks. Not just my family, but the whole Bigfoot family out there. We've had a lot of passing, and it's ugly. I know what happens, but it's sad. It's very sad, and of course I've been crying for a couple days now. So all those things come to your mind when you do stuff like that. But Joe, man, I love you, dude. You have a very good heart, and you welcome everybody. You never ever disappoint. You have your great sense of humor, and Yeah. There's probably so much more I could say, but everybody already knows. We love you, and all your escapades, and that won't ever stop. Those memories are right here, and you're right here still. So it's not over yet. You're not over. You're here still, and so there's still things to be said. So
Alex Petticoff's in chat. He says, I'll never forget meeting Joe a few years ago at the Whitehall Sasquatch Festival in New York. We got to go out squatching with Culls and crew. Enjoyed my conversation with Joe over these past couple of years. Yeah, I can tell you everybody, and I don't say this just lightheartedly. I can tell you everybody who's ever had an opportunity to spend time with Joe, I've never heard anybody say anything bad about him. I mean, you know how it is when you have a YouTube show. You'll always have a handful of people who just can't exist without saying something bad about somebody. But Joe is probably out of all of us had the fewest, to be honest with you. But yeah, I think that for me, the hardest thing to grasp here is how quickly this progressed from a sore rib feeling like you slept on it wrong.
Well, Joe called me and
that was 33 days ago.
He called me because it had seemed like his pain was the same that I had when I ripped the muscle on my rib. And I'm like, yeah, that's all it is. That's, it's exactly how I felt. They did all those tests too. And it was just, I have a little tear there on my rib, and it feels like somebody's stabbing you. But, man, it just didn't get better, and it didn't get better.
Yeah.
It wasn't the same.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it was surprising to him that he even, that first step, that he had a broken rib. Like, it's like, how did this happen? I just sleeping? I don't remember falling or doing anything weird. So that was really puzzling to him. But I think when that first CAT scan showed up and they said, well, there's some shattering on your liver, we got to look at this, let's run some tests. Within days, they were saying, dude, you've got stage 4 liver cancer. And I can't imagine going from, wow, I have this. I mean, at first, he didn't even know if he should go to the doctor. He told Molly, let me just see how it goes today. And then by that night, it hurt so badly, he said, you got to take me to the emergency room.
Right.
But that was 33 days ago. I mean, that was, if I'm not mistaken, August 13th. And so here we are, September 15th. It is crazy how fast it went from, wow, my side is sore, to, dude, you've got a couple weeks to live. And I think that is the hardest thing for most of us to really wrap our head around, especially Joe himself. I mean, to sit here and think, how did this go from that to this? So, I mean, talk about blindsided, But I'm going to bring Jen in. Jen was a co-host for Joe on his show for a long time, and probably knows him as well, if not better, than most of the people we're going to talk to tonight. How are you, Jen?
Hanging in there. A little heartbroken like everybody.
No. Yeah, well, you had an opportunity to spend an awful lot of time with Joe doing his show. And for those who, I mean, a lot of us kind of have gotten to know Joe. Those who are in our chat that have watched his channels, we've got a lot of people listening on podcasts that never even heard his name before tonight. So I'm wondering if you could help some of us understand what type of person Joe is based on your experience working with him. What are some of the things that you've noticed about him when it comes to character and things like that that really stood out to you?
Oh, he very self-deprecating, but very smart. He knows a lot, and just a very sweet, very honest, very forthright guy. You know.
Yeah.
If he loves you, he loves you. You know. He's
He is very, very intelligent.
he is.
And when it comes to, even things that he doesn't subscribe to theory-wise, he would still educate himself on so that he could have the discussion without looking ignorant or, missing something.
And
His
never afraid to
knowledge when it comes to evolution and things like that was really quite astounding, to be honest.
Yeah, and never afraid to say, I don't know. Which is, comes few and far between sometimes. You know, the willingness just to go,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, another thing I can tell you about Joe is, this is something that maybe me and him shared in common, and I'm not saying that it could be a good thing, it could not be a good thing, depending on how you do with it, but he didn't suffer fools easily. And, if he saw somebody say something that did not make sense to him, he wasn't unkind, he wasn't disrespectful, but he wouldn't give you a free pass either. He'd ask you about it.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't afraid to do that. He wasn't trying to be confrontational. He's trying to understand, why do you feel that way?
Why do you feel that way? What brings you to that conclusion?
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. Let's share
I remember
ideas.
one night on Steve Cole's show, Steve, somebody in his chat had said, the only place that Sasquatch exists is in the Pacific Northwest. It doesn't exist in the north, it doesn't exist in the central part of North America, it doesn't exist on the East Coast at all. The only place it could exist is the Pacific Northwest. Now, a lot of people are like, dude, you're stupid. Dude, you're an idiot, right? Not Joe. Joe said, what evidence do you have of that? And that's an intelligent question, because if he doesn't have evidence of that, the discussion's really over. I mean, Joe just did not give people a free pass on. I think he understood that one of the most dangerous things there is not to this community is that when people who have a following and people who have a large group, a population that look to them as somebody who they could use as a resource, comes out and expresses opinions as fact. That was a problem for him. That's always been a problem for me. I mean, I don't care if you want a precursor and say, here's something that I kind of feel may be true, whatever. But when you come out and act like, well, when you do this, or when you hit this is what this means, like it's fact, I think that just spun Joe's head. He was like, what are you talking about? You know?
Yeah, well, I know he does like to fly by the seat of his pants a lot, too, because there were many a show where he'd be like, hey, let's talk about this, and then it would come to showtime, and I'd been researching for a week and a half, and I hop on, and he go, like, I pulled up these 2 articles, let's go.
I'd send Joe a message sometimes, like 15 minutes before his show started, and I'd say, what are you covering tonight? And he's like, I'm not sure yet. I'm like, what? But
he has stamina, that's for sure. He would do 2 shows on his channel, then he came onto my show, and then he went on to Steve's Cole's show.
yeah.
He was like, boom, just hopping around, man. He hops around.
Hey, Brent.
Hey, how's it going?
Brent's popping in. I know he's at a family thing this weekend, but I appreciate you jump in. And
Yeah, about ready to head out. But yeah, no, I mean, how could I not? I mean, it's Joe. I mean, we all love Joe. I mean, he's one of a kind. I wish, there's so many wishes out there that you wish you could have. And, I'm just fortunate that I had the opportunity to get to know him as much as I have and still do. And, I, love his humor coming from his from his room and stuff, and it's it's good. It's hard.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie. It's very hard though, because it's as you were talking about, it happened so quick. It's like boom, it's unfortunate that this happens, and with Molly, it's like, man, I'm so happy that we're going to be there for Molly and stuff, because she really needs a lot of support as well. And yeah, Joe, if you're watching this, which I'm sure you are, love you lots, man, and thinking of you all the time and stuff. So yeah, these are hard. These are like the hardest things for me and stuff. And it's just that it's tough when somebody goes through this. And Joe's an amazing person, and who will leave a legacy that he'll be proud of.
yeah, I think that there are so many people who, I mean, we see this throughout your show, Nikki's show, when I was doing a show. So many of the same names that were using a lot of us as an influence or a resource. But you look at how many people Joe has touched over the years and helped in their journey of learning about Sasquatch, or trying to deal with an encounter that they had, and they hear him sharing what he's experienced. I don't think Joe will ever have an opportunity here on Earth to understand how many people he touched. I mean, really, we look at views on a video and think, so many hundred people watch. We don't get what that compounds and adds up to, and how many people can honestly say, man, I'm thankful for what that guy did for me. And yet they aren't going to email that guy or call him and say thank you. Joe's probably unaware of 95% of the people that appreciated him and that he helped over the years. And so I just wanted to hope that tonight could be a night that, as he's sitting in the hospital with Molly, he could really grasp how many people he affected in such a positive way,
And, just the glimpse that I've had into his life, being like a Facebook friend with him and stuff, it seems like, transcended the Bigfoot community too, and in, everyday life with people too. So, it's not fair. Just not fair.
Yeah. Yeah, like you had mentioned, it progressed so fast. I was guiding some elk hunters out in Montana, some archery hunters, for almost 10 days. And I came back and I click on YouTube and I'm looking at Joe's channel and I'm like, Joe has cancer? And then it was like, they're saying he has 2 years? They're saying he has less than a year? They're saying he has less than 6 months? All of a sudden it's like, they're saying he has 2 weeks or a couple weeks? It's like, this all played out. Like I say, it was 32 days ago that Joe woke up and said, man, my ribs hurt. What's going on? It is just baffling how fast this unfolded. It really is. But I think that, if anything, is just a testimony to how great the need is to financially get involved with the GoFundMe so that Molly can spend these last days that she has with him without that burden looming over their thoughts. And so,
Yeah, I'm gonna skip ahead a minute.
Support that.
Yeah, no, and I thank you for doing a show like this. To really give people a chance to come on and really appreciate Joe for everything that he offers, and we'll continue to offer.
Hey, Jonathan, how are you?
Hey.
Sorry I had you backstage a little bit there. I was trying to get.
That's completely fine.
Appreciate
no
you
problem at all. No problem. Absolutely. How you doing, Nikki, Jen, Brent? How you doing, Joe? I hope you're comfortable, buddy. Love you, man. And I won't take up a lot of time here, but I just, I want Joe to know that, listening to Joe and having Joe as a leader to me, somebody that I looked up to, somebody that I respected, somebody that was always ringing in my ear, sitting on my shoulder while I was in the woods, and kept my mind wired and heading in the right direction. And I have a lot of respect for Joe. He's a role model for young men to become a great man. He has great standards and morals, and if I had to have a phrase that I think of that best suits Joe and represents his outlook on this subject is don't talk shit you can't back up. Yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of show me the facts sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I could have blown something out of proportion tonight. I encountered a bear, and so I could go on YouTube and make it look like something it isn't. But, Joe and many others.
I like that guy talking, but the sad part is my show only lasts 2 hours. And as much as I'd like to show the entire show from Pine Island Research and my friend Jeff Hardy, I can't do that. So I got to move ahead.
And that's what
I got to move ahead.
What we're going to do next week, and it's going to be something else on that.
I think he has his YouTube on too.
Yeah, he had it. I think he got
And
it.
I'm looking for it now. Hold on, guys. Bear with me. So we're going to move ahead a few minutes so we can get on with the show, and Daily Dan will show up shortly.
Needs to be fixed, of course. And that she was going to take up my mantle because she thought it was important that people know that.
At least I hope I will.
Bigfoot in the woods. He's not lying about that.
Yeah.
And she's taking up that mantle, and I would appreciate you guys taking her under your wing. And please show her all the ropes. Just be with her, man. Give her the support she needs in that endeavor, the same as you have been supporting me.
But one thing that I noticed, Joe, and I still notice it as I watch YouTube and watch where that has gone over the last year, is when Carrie Arnold passed away, a lot of people came around his wife and lifted her up and honored her and nurtured her and supported her, and to this day they still do.
Yeah.
And I think Molly can expect the same treatment here.
Yeah. That's what I told her. I said, honey, if you really mean that, and she wouldn't say that to me if she didn't really mean it. But I said, honey, if you really mean that, I said, you're going to have so much support from Leon and Jeff and Steve Coles and all the people that I'm involved with, everybody. You're going to have so much support from them. I hope you have a blast at the festivals and the conferences if you go to them. Now everybody knows I wasn't a big conference guy, mostly because there's so many of them that I couldn't really afford to go to like every single one of them. But I did enjoy the ones I could get to in New York, and yeah, she wants to do that. She's planning on like going to Whitehall and going to these different various ones, man, and putting it out there, that, hey, my husband was doing this, now I'm doing it. Bigfoot is real, and this is why, this is what I can show you to tell you why I believe that he believed.
Yeah, I was just gonna,
We'll laugh, it hurts a little bit.
yeah, sorry, we'll do a jab for you after, if she read it with Sasquatch, well, I'll say to her, well, Molly, we all believe that you believe that you saw something.
I think if she's going to keep the Jeep, Joe, we need to get a graphic made for the back window that says, I believe that you all believe.
Yeah, right.
You know what I believe for the first time in 30 years? There just might be a Sasquatch community. There just might be a Bigfoot community.
Yes,
With lots of good people in it.
Yeah, that's what I liked about Steve's show was when he was going on, somebody was talking to him about, well, there's no such thing as community, and Steve was saying, yeah, there is a community, there's a different community, though. Our communities are different. I mean, we live through a lot of shit, you guys. A lot of shit. A lot of our own personal shit and all that kind of stuff, but we seem to be able to somehow negotiate through the shit instead of just be vindictive towards each other, which is great. That's because of your personalities. It's not because of one individual. It's because of the soil and the landscape we're trying to find out here. And I think, that's a testament to you as well, Joe, is your personality dealing with people is rubbing off on our abilities, well, each of that personality style of, just trying to be fair, real, honest, and then trying to negotiate the bullshit, it's like, oh my God, like.
I think you're right on with that, Leon, and that, with the way things are in this world today, it takes something awfully important and impactful for people to be able to set aside their differences and meet on common ground. And
I'm gonna have to go ahead and advance this up a little bit. You have to forgive me.
Alright.
Thing for the rest of my life, everybody say it with me. Don't sweat the petty stuff. And don't pet the sweaty stuff.
Jerry, good one.
Thank you so much, Jerry, for joining us.
Thank you, my brother.
Thank you.
Hi, Derry.
Jerry's a great guy. I appreciate him taking the time to come on tonight.
I actually say that a lot at work, Joe. I use that phrase that
Hey, there's Daddy Dan.
so famous. I think it's funny every time I hear it, and I think it's funny every time I say it. I can't tell you how much I didn't know you were so sick. We had this thing in Mount St. Helens here recently.
Because I'm going to end it with me, of course.
I wish you could have been a part of that.
Because I'm the main event.
It was a lot of fun. But, I just want you to know that your show was one of my favorites that I ever was on. I've appreciated your Rasta. I had to search and find out what that meant, and then I realized what that was. I think that's just amazing how you put that together. So, but yeah, I love you, man. I really do. I'm still pulling for you. It's not the end yet, so.
Well, not until the day I draw my final breath, and when that happens, it happens. It could be, like I said, I don't know. I have to go day by day, right, man? I mean, it could be tonight, it could be tomorrow night, it could be 3 weeks from now.
Well, Joe, what's awesome is that you have your sense of humor and your passion, everything going right now, and it's all working. And, if we can get these funds raised and get them available to you and Molly, there's a lot of decisions that involve your final days that you're able to be a part of. It's not like you can't communicate what you want to communicate. I think it'd be awesome if you designed a tombstone that had freaking Rasta on it. Has anybody ever put a Sasquatch on a tombstone before? I wonder.
Well, I'll tell you what's going to happen. And Molly said that she was going to do this because I had mentioned it. And she said, yeah, I'm going to do that. Of course, I'm going to be cremated. And what she's going to do is keep some of the ashes for herself. And then the rest of them she's going to take up to where I saw Rasta. And she's going to spread my ashes up there.
I've seen so many interesting things done
That's
with people's
exactly
ashes.
the right thing to do.
I had a friend of mine who was a fellow hunting guide who passed away and had his ashes loaded into 100 shotgun shells. And the opening morning of duck season every year, his friends launch him out over the pond.
Wow.
Year after year. I've seen another guy who was a fishing guide had custom-made crankbait lures that had a little bit of his ashes inside of it. They're clear and you could see it. So when you go and use that lure, you're taking your buddy fishing, so to speak. I mean, it's just crazy what some people do. But I think the idea of being able to honor a place that was important to you, which is for you, it's where your sighting was, is really a neat deal. Maybe someplace inconspicuous where people don't see it, you could put a little, something flush on the earth there to where it has your initials or something with message that she could visit.
Yeah, I can't say that it's so remote that nobody would ever come across it, because it's not. I mean, there are chances that somebody walking through there or hunting some year might come across something like that, but I think that they would think it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Hey, my name and whatever, date of birth, date of death, saw Bigfoot in this spot, August.
I think that would be an amazing thing, like a kind of a geocache, so to speak. To be able to share the coordinates wherever you wanted, wherever she wanted to, wherever we wanted to. You could share those coordinates, and people could go there and remotely find this one little spot in the ground that says, this is where Joe Snyder had his encounter. I think that would be amazing.
That'd be awesome.
And then have a little case that when they opened up a scroll and said, look over your shoulder. It's terrified of it. Dan, here, I know we're chatting up with a storm here.
Yeah.
Hey, Dan, how are you? I apologize for...
No, it's all good,
Danny.
Well, it's Joe's night, and I could listen to Joe talk endlessly all night long if we got all night. Hey, Joe, I want you to know, brother, from the heart, man, I really love you, man, like a brother.
Right back at you, man. Right back at you.
And when I got everybody's attention and people's actually listening to me, let me spin out some yarns for you for about 5 minutes before I go away and get really drunk. Because I'm going to get really drunk tonight. I've been going now for about 2 hours. I had to get brave to come on here and address the nation of Bigfoot community. It's kind of like making me nervous. My hair is standing up a little bit on end to end because, I'm just no country boy. I ain't like all y'all city folks. Living in New York City and all that. But in my younger days, I was 11 years old. I was out in the woods taking pictures, wanting to be a nature photographer like my mom. And I'm taking pictures of the birds and the ducks and the little squirrels, because that's what nature photographers do. And I looked up on a hill, and I I saw, and I know the Bigfoot community is going to hate me for saying this because everybody wants to think all Bigfoots are nice and gentle, and Bigfoot's all lovey-dovey, and Bigfoot want to give you some gifts and shit. But let me tell you, I saw 110% what you Halloween guys would call a fucking monster standing on a hill looking at me. It was big and it was hairy and it was evil. It wasn't no good guy Bigfoot. This was a mean mother. It looked at me and it growled and it went and it scared me so bad I wet myself. I was 11 years old. I run home crying and told people about it. And the biggest mistake I ever made in my life was telling people at school about it. I was tormented. I was the boy who saw Bigfoot.
Yeah.
You know, you saw something that don't exist, boy, you crazy. And then the funny part was my grandpa believed me. He really did.
Yeah, but your grandpa saw one.
Because he had seen it too when he was a kid. And he knew about it, and on top of that, he was the chief of police. So don't think that Bigfoot don't exist, because he does. I'm not a believer. I'm like Joe. I'm a knower. And I spent the next 40-something years of my life running around the woods looking for Bigfoot. When I discovered YouTube, I started making videos about Bigfoot and putting them on YouTube. I actually had action right here in the area I live in. Something was still my trash, and I found big footprints. I put them videos up. Check them out. That's when I first started. And I'm all into Bigfoot. And then I discovered Moggs' channel. And Moggs let me come on and talk to people, and I thought that was real cool. That was the first channel I ever really went on and talked to anybody, was that and Blue Line Bigfoot. And that's where I met Joe. I met Joe and Nikki over there, and I want you to know there's two people on YouTube who changed Daily Dan's life. And that's Joe sitting over there. And that's that girl Nikki that was on earlier. I wish she was on now where I could tell her, you two changed my life because y'all took time with me. You talked to me. You taught me about being a little more skeptical. And that's something I owe you for, Joe. I'm owe you for the rest of my life for being skeptical. Because I started questioning stuff. And then I showed you that cool picture that farmer took, and you and Nikki took it all apart and told me I was an idiot and it was fake. And I went and confronted the guy. And that's how I wound up in jail when I whooped his son's ass. Because you shouldn't take a video or a picture and send it to Daily Dan unless you want that ass whooped. Because I take it seriously. Let me point that out to you. Thank you, Joe. You got me locked up. Okay. So for 46 years, I'm out looking for Bigfoot again because I want to prove it exists with my little stupid cameras for YouTube. And I'm watching your show one night, and the funniest thing about that is your girl Molly. Is she in the room? Hey, Molly. She's Molly. You around, Molly? Thank you, Molly. Molly starts talking about Bigfoot's damn penis. Bigfoot's penis. How big is Bigfoot's penis, Joe? Because Molly talks about it every show. And Bigfoot penis got on my mind. So 46 years later, when I'm walking through the woods on a Bigfoot investigation where people saw Bigfoot fucking an hour ago, and I'm going to get me some video, and I'm thinking I've got it this time. The 5 minutes that the camera was off, Joe, in between videos, because, you know, I try to keep a camera running the whole time I'm in the woods, but, you know, I ended the video, I smoked a cigar, I'm trying to wait for a few minutes to start the next video, and there it goes. I see the big, long, giant, 8-foot tall, hairy man again. After 46 years, I see it. And you know, Molly, thank you so much. Because instead of starting the camera and filming Bigfoot and getting him on camera for the world to see the next Patterson Gimlin film, Joe, I checked out Bigfoot's junk. I had to see how big his damn penis was for Molly. By the way, Molly, it's huge. And I started the camera, and all I got was a blur going through the woods. So, Dan, and you've changed my life forever, and Joe, no matter what happens, brother, I do love you, man.
Yeah, back at you, man. One of the things you mentioned, Dan, I think is worth circling back on, and it's not Bigfoot penis, but it is, when you had that experience at 11, and you went and shared it, and you felt like, boy, I don't know if they really believe me, but then you felt like your grandfather believed you, like maybe he had
No, he told me his story, you know. He told me about when he saw it when he was a kid. And this is the police, you know. He went with me in the woods with guns, checking out the scene. We found footprints. It was a thing. I made a video about it. You can see that on YouTube.
Well, I think the thing to note there is that this is something that we hear a lot in encounters. We heard it in Jay's encounter. When Jay got back and thought, nobody's going to believe me, and his mom looked at him and said, you saw it. I think that peace of mind that comes over somebody when they realize that somebody gets it, that somebody's going to believe them, that they're not going to be isolated and in doubt, I think is so important. And I think that that's what people find when they visit a channel like Joe's over the years and hear him talk about his encounter. Some of those people didn't have Dan's grandpa or Joe's mom or Jay's mom. What they're finding is Joe. What they're finding is Jay. What they're finding is online somebody who's saying, you're not crazy, dude. I know what happened to you. I get it. I was there. And I think that that's just so important, that because we see it so many times in encounters, like, and you just showed us one more time, Dan, how you had an experience and thought, who's going to believe this? And here's your grandfather saying, I believe you.
You got to understand, in my frame of mind, Bigfoot wasn't real as an 11-year-old kid. Bigfoot was something I saw on TV when I watched Bigfoot and Wild Boy. Bigfoot was something the $6 Million Man thought. Bigfoot was the Legend of Boggy Creek, that horror movie that wasn't real. It was a horror movie in my mind. I didn't know the damn thing was a documentary at the time. I thought it was just another horror movie, you know, like The Thing with Two Heads. So, to me, you know, Bigfoot was mythical. It wasn't real. It didn't have nothing to do with reality. Till I saw it. That's when things changed and I realized, hey, these things are real. And I live in South Carolina, not Washington. Why in the hell is this thing out here? And it took me a long time to realize that in Kentucky, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Kentucky, you get lots of Bigfoot sightings all up and down the East Coast. Yeah. Right in the Long Island, where my friend Mike actually talks to him. You might want to check him out.
Jay, you wanted to comment. You're on mute, Jay.
I've been working outside all day long, but I wouldn't have missed this for the world. I'm the old man's give out, okay? Joe, got one word to say before I leave here. Respect, brother. Love you. Good night.
Thank you, man.
Hey, Jay.
Thank you, Jay.
Yeah, I've gone more than 30 minutes now without actually smoking, so.
It would do you good to go the rest of your life without actually smoking.
Yeah, right?
I'm one of them people. I don't smoke cigarettes. I smoke cigars, but I don't really inhale them that much. But it's become a nervous habit to hold one.
Yeah.
So if I'm not smoking, I'm not happy. No smoking.
I gotta tell you, I appreciate this really. Drugs are kicking in.
I know the feeling, Joe.
So I gotta file out.
More than normal, you're saying, right?
Yeah, more than normal. That's right. And again, like I said, I love you folks. I love you. That's all. I can't stress it enough. I appreciate all of you being in my life, following my journey right up until the end. And I hope that sometime in the future, when you guys think about me with kindness.
Yeah.
That's all I ask. And other than that, man, don't sweat the petty stuff and don't pet.
But Joe, before you go, there's one thing you should check on. Get Molly to do this. You can go to YouTube and they will replace channels that get lost where you accidentally delete them because they're all saved on a giant server somewhere. Please do what you can to channel. All your great videos put back up on YouTube, please.
I'm proud of that. I'm proud of that. All right.
All right, thank you, Joe. I will be talking to you tomorrow, my friend.
Yeah, same. Yep.
Sleep well, my friend.
Well, you see that right there? That broke my freaking heart. That was the last encounter I had with Joe Snyder, and I hope you enjoyed that. This has been one of the hardest shows that Eddie Dan ever had to do. It took a lot out of me. And there's only so much you can say. Joe Snyder, you changed my life. Joe Snyder, you made me skeptical. Joe Snyder, me and you share the fact that we know where Bigfoot roams. We have seen the other side. And I hope y'all enjoyed my show tonight. I'm going to play a couple of songs, and then I'm going to pass out, I hope. I dedicate this song to my friend Joe by Lenny Green. I'm so fucked up.
I watch a blazing sunrise paint the morning skies with shades of flame. Above a quiet wilderness, man has somehow never tried to tame. The moment seems suspended in a land where there's no need for time or clocks. It's yesterday again to the boy who used to walk where Bigfoot walks. So many years have passed, I still can't believe it looks the same. As though it's been protected by a memory that kept it all unchanged. Tonight they'll sing my welcome, the spotted owl, the coyote, and the fox. They'll know that I've come back again to walk where Bigfoot walks. As a boy I knew these wild lands as well as any man. This was like my playground at the time. And times I faced the giant, I came to understand he'd go his way if only I went mine. They say you can't go home again, but going home is really in your mind. And I think it all depends on what it is back home you're hoping you can find. For me it's being free again, where there's no doors of steel and there's no locks. Free to be that boy again, the one who used to walk where Bigfoot walks. Someday this peaceful valley may have to give way to the march of man. And just become a memory to as the boy who used to walk where Bigfoot walks.
I dedicate that song to my friend Joe Snyder. And Joe, unlike most people, I really hope that something changes. I hope you pull through this. I hope you get the lucky break I got all those years ago when I beat cancer. You know, in 2012 I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma and only given a year or so to live because it was so bad. I switched to keto. I got my life right. I went on a healthy kick. I started smoking a lot of weed and I beat it and I pulled through. And I like to think that maybe, Joe, you. So I'm going to end the night with my theme song, and I appreciate everybody for joining me. Be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for me. Be sure to check out my friend Jeff over at Pine Island Research, and I appreciate you letting me use your
Down in South Carolina,
stuff.
way down yonder, there's a big old critter that likes to wander around my backyard sometimes late at night. Well, it ain't no beaver, bobcat, or bear, 'cause he's 8 foot tall and covered in hair, and the first time I seen him, he gave me quite a fright. Well, he eats from my garden and pees in my grass, and he stings like a skunk mixed with grizzly bear ass, and he scares my cats when they smell him come around. Well, he spends his time peeking around trees, and he thinks what he wants, and he does what he pleases, like scratching his butt and making a grunting sound. Sasquatch, Sasquatch, knocking on the trees, chucking rocks and screaming like a troop of chimpanzees. Sasquatch, Sasquatch, running around my place. Are you the missing link, or are you from outer space? Now you may wonder, what does a Sasquatch do when he's wandering around at 1:45 in the middle of the night because he's feeling down? Well, he comes on over to visit my house. I think he has a little thing for my spouse, 'cause she always feels like someone is around. Well, he looks in the windows and checks out my wife. Can't say as I blame him. She looks pretty nice in a fuzzy robe as green as the foam of the sea. Well, he stands and he blinks as he ponders and thinks about humans and love, and she smiles so sweet. He wonders what the heck she sees in me. Sasquatch, Sasquatch, stop looking in my windows. I think it's kinda creepy, you voyeuristic weirdo. Sasquatch, Sasquatch, keep your big paws to yourself. And you got a lady Sasquatch to raise your Sasquatch whelps. Well, I made a report to BFRO. Them fellers that got that Squatch hunting show. Finding Bigfoot is what they're all about. They said people see him all the time and make lots of reports that are just like mine. And if you see him too, go ahead and give him a shout. Now I wish I knew some Sasquatch lingo. I'd invite him on over to party and mingle with me and my wife and a few of our closest friends. But I guess I'll smile and just wave hi the next time the big guy comes walking by. Saying hello just might become a trend. Sasquatch, Sasquatch, my big old hairy friend. There's some that don't believe in you, but I will till the end. Sasquatch, Sasquatch, hope your legend never ends. Didn't know that we were neighbors, but I hope we can be friends.
Thanks everybody for coming. I appreciate y'all. Be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Until next time. Blog over, dudes.